Hey, welcome. It is Jesus Movement Moment time, and thank you for being with us this morning. It's cold outside, but it's warm in here.
Yes, it
And
is.
got with us, hey, you know this guy, Drew Sutherin. And so, Drew, thank you for helping me out. Thank you for
Yeah, for
joining us.
sure, for sure.
And so, we're going to talk about kind of what Drew's heart is students and ministering to students. And the reason we're doing this, y'all just got back from Gatlinburg.
We sure did. Yep.
And that was youth convention, youth gathering.
Yep.
You went with Rush Church.
We did. Yeah. 56 of us took off on a big old passenger bus, and we left. Man, I tell you, just interesting story. We left Friday morning. We're scheduled to be there and leave at 7:30, and there's no bus. So we were a little concerned and called the bus company and found out, the bus driver went to a different Rush Church with the exact same address, just in Columbus instead of Rushville. So we were slightly delayed, and then we got down to about Cincinnati on the bus, and again, we're 56 of us, and most of those are teenagers, and we blow a tire on the bus. So it was an interesting ride down, to say the least, but our bus driver, Janine, huge shout out to her. She's just amazing. I just thank God for her, but she got us to a place where we could, eat lunch while they were changing the tire, so we didn't waste a lot of time. And then we went through the snowstorm that was hitting Tennessee, and it was just, man, God delivered us through a lot of traffic situations and some cars that were sliding all over the road. And again, I just shout out to the Lord, of course, who controls all things, but our bus driver too, because she was calm and cool and collected the whole time, and most of us were not on that bus. So credit to her. But we made it to the convention in Gatlinburg, and our first session started at 5:30 Friday night, and we sat down right as the countdown clock hit 0. So it was meant to be. But man, just what an awesome time to go and worship. And they do this. I know our church is new to this. Rush Church has done it for probably about 10 years. This is our church's first time going with our youth group. And first off, let me just say thank you to our church, because it would not be possible. So a lot of those kids would not have been able to go if you wouldn't have came forward and gave donations and sponsored kids, and just an incredible outpouring of love and generosity that our church has had for our youth. Not just with this trip, but with our Wednesday night group. And I encourage you to keep doing that. We need sponsors here. We need sponsors for other youth things we want to do. And we're going to need meals and other things for our youth group, because they are who's going to take over this church someday. So I appreciate the outpouring and the love that you guys have shown to them. But the conference itself was, we went Wednesday or Friday night. We had a session, then we had 2 on Saturday, a morning and an evening session, and then a Sunday morning session. So there's 4 different times we got to go to the conference. And they do it in 2 groups, because the conference can only hold 2,500 people. So we have an alpha group, which was us, and an omega group, which was another 2,500 teens. So picture Gatlinburg with 5,000 teenagers running around, and that's what this weekend is. But to see 2,500 kids just worshiping the Lord and just going up front and worshiping, hands up, raising, and just praising, it's good for my soul. It's good for my heart. It's just rejuvenated for me to see that. But we got to talk about the speakers. They talked about the case. It was all about the case for truth. What is truth? What is biblical truth? Because our culture's defining truth in so many different ways. So we talked about that. Then the second one, we talked about the case for God. Is God real? Can we believe in this? Is our universe really crafted and designed by a supreme being? And we broke that down way farther than these kids had ever even gone, and discovered, all the designs that even atheists have said. There's everything points to the fact that this is a design, not just a happening, not just something that happens out of, circumstance. And then the third session, we talked about the case for Jesus. We talked about the resurrection. We talked about the crucifixion. We talked about, there has to be a body, and then there has to be nobody, and then we have to see somebody to believe in that faith. And that was just huge to hear him talk about that and see these kids just click and click. And then the last session we talked about is what that means for us, the case for others. We looked at Paul's life and how he went around and what he did and how it changed his life, meeting Jesus, not just because he met Jesus, but because he saw him at the resurrection, that he saw him afterwards, that changed something in Paul. And it changed something in everyone that saw him. And they started to believe, just like Jesus' brother didn't really faithfully believe until he saw him after the resurrection. It just proves that that change happened, that people don't change like that and give themselves to die for a cause that isn't true. So we looked at that, and we talked about what that means for us and what that means for our role in this place, in this world, in our communities, in our homes, in our schools, what that means for how we're supposed to take that case of Christ and how we're supposed to talk to others and treat others, more importantly, not just talk, but how we're supposed to act and how we're supposed to live joyfully. So it was just awesome. The comedians that were there were hilarious. The bands were great. The whole thing was just put together well. And then they had times where they could go to different electives throughout the day. So they had different things where we could talk about. One that I went to was how to build your testimony, and took some teens to that. And then the teens could go, the girls could go talk about Esther, the boys could go to do something else. And just different times where the whole thing was just about building your faith and being able to give a reason for the faith that you have, as we're called to do. So it was just an awesome opportunity. The ride home was much better than the ride down, I will say. There was no snow and nothing to worry about, and everything went as scheduled. We even made a stop at Buc-ee's, which the kids and all the chaperones loved. So it was just an all-around great trip.
Good.
So thank you to all of you who helped with that.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So sometimes as we get older, we get concerned about state students, you know, what's going to happen. We get a little iffy about passing the mantle in the church. So just, of course you go to a convention, and you see 5,000 kids worshiping Jesus, and, and you hear what they're being exposed to. And I know you come back and you're very positive about the state.
Yeah. For sure.
The future. And if Jesus don't come back, but maybe help someone my age, or, maybe younger or older, to just say, no, man, I'm telling you, these kids will step up when the mantle is passed to them. God's got some students that are just fired up, man. I'll give you a case, and I want you to elaborate on this. So he's a college kid, and he was in church Sunday. He had his girlfriend with him, and another person, and I didn't get permission, so I'm not going to use his name. But so he was in church, and I sent him a text. Man, great to see you, and he said, boy, just good worship, good word. And he called his friend's name, and he said, hey, she loved it, we loved it. So Drew, just man, talk about that briefly, because we're wrapping down here.
Yeah.
Just how we can help me to feel good about passing the mantle to the state of our students.
For sure. I'll tell you, these kids are on fire for something. They want something. They're craving something. And you see the news, and just stop watching it. I'll just be honest with you. It does not paint this generation in a good light at all. And it's not what you see if you have a relationship with them. But what these kids need is the same thing that I needed, the same thing that we all needed, is someone to believe in us. They need somebody that's willing to step in and be relational with them and talk to them, and not only just say, hey, how are you doing, but build a relationship. And that's something I have encouraged our youth group downstairs and on Wednesday night, to go out of their way to build a relationship with the generation above them and the generation above that, to say, you know what, there are so many different things, and the scripture talks about this, so many different things that they have for us, for our generation, and so many things that you have for them, that they need to see who you are and what you're all about, and see that you are, an encouraging generation, a creative generation, so much creative, and just things that they're able to come up with that just blows my mind at how intelligent they really are. And they're not painted that way at all. So they need someone to step alongside and say, hey, I believe in you. I know that you are capable of great things. And I know that God's moving through your life, because he is. We saw so many kids rededicate their lives to Christ this weekend, get saved, find salvation. And being a part of that testimony group was awesome, because the speaker told them, get up and share your testimony with 5 different people. And he taught them how to craft their testimony. So I got to talk to about 20 different kids who shared their testimony with me. And it was just hugely eye-opening to me, just to see that they just need one person that's willing to say, hey, I'm with you.
Wow. All right. Hey, there it is, gang. Like it, share it, get it out. Thank you, Drew, for being with us.
Of course.
Thank you for serving our students. And may Godspeed. Bless you.